Right, on towards the grade B questions. So first of all, with this one, it's again with these new scientific calculators, we can type that in exactly as it looks. So we start with the square root, 8.5, and then the cubed button is that one there, plus open bracket 4.5 take 0.76 close bracket squared. So it's written exactly as you see it there. So if we write that down as a decimal string and then work out the significant figures, blah 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 blah. So the three most significant figures is that one, and that one, because those are the ones that are in the place value with the highest order, the highest value. So our answer is either going to be 25.0 or 25.1. And in the same way with decimal places, you then look at the next place along, and because that's 5 or more, that rounds up. So our answer is going to be 25.123 SF. Reciprocal means 1 over or to the power of -1. So on your calculator, it's this button here, x to the power of -1. So you need to know that. So negative 0.07 to the -1 equals minus 14.28 blah blah blah. So to one decimal place that would be minus 14.3 because the next decimal place over is bigger. So to 1 dp. I just lost my mark scheme. So the marks for that one, question 11. Two marks for the first one, one for that, the second for three significant figures. And for this one, again, 1 mark for the correct calculation, 1 mark for putting it into decimal places. Question 12. Show that the triangle below is not a right angle triangle. So we're going to have to use the fact that we know that those are all should add up to 180 to find out the value of x. So we form an equation to find the value of x and then substitute the value of x back into each of those to show that none of them come to 90. So we have 5x minus 9 plus 3x take 2 plus 2x add 1 must add up to 180. So let's deal with the x's first of all. We have 5, 8, 10x. You're at negative 9, you go down another 2, you get negative 11 plus 1, negative 10 equals 180. Two-step equation. Need to get rid of the take 10 by doing the opposite, which is adding 10. So we get 10x is 190. So to get the x on its own, we have to break the times 10, which is divide by 10 equals 19. So x is 19 degrees. So if x is 19 degrees, this one would be 3 lots of 19 take away 2. Which is 57, take away 2 is 55 degrees. So that's not a right angle. This one will be 5 lots of 19 take away 9. Which is 86. So that's not a right angle. And 2x plus 1 is going to be 2 lots of 19 add 1, which is 38 add 1, 39. Not a right angle. So we've shown that their three angles are 86, 55 and 39. So the marks for that one mark for forming the equation, 1 mark for getting it down as far as 10x is 190, 1 mark for 19, and then 1 mark for substituting into at least one more of those, and then showing that none of them actually work out to be 90. Question 13, trial and improvement. The solution to the equation x cubed minus 2x take 45 is 0 lies between 3 and 4. So you revise trial and improvement, you know you're going to start halfway between. So try x equals 3.5. So where there's an x, we break that apart to put a number in and it becomes a bracket. 3.5 cubed minus 2, explode the x to make a bracket, take away 45. We put that on our calculator and see whether that is greater than or less than 0. So we type it in exactly as we see it. 3.5 close bracket, there's your cubed, take 2 open bracket, 3.5 close bracket, take 45 minus 9.125. Looking for 0, that's too small. Because it's too small, there's no point in trying 3.4 or 3.3 etc. because they'll be too small as well. So we need to go now between 3.5 and 4. So we'll go 3.7. Okay, open bracket, 3.7 close bracket cubed minus 2 open bracket 3.7 minus 45. Negative 1.747, still too small. So there's no point trying 3.6, we'll try 3.8. See what that gives us. So 3.8 cubed, take 2 lots of 3.8, take 45, positive, plus 2.272, too big. So we know that 3.7 is too small, 3.8 is too big. So we've got it between two consecutive 1 decimal place numbers. So one of those is my answer, correct to 1 decimal place. So to decide which one, we now go halfway between these two. So we test using x equals 3.75. see whether that gives us an answer that's too big or too small. So 3.75 cubed minus 2 bracket 3.75 take 45 is 0.2 for blah 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 too big. If 3.75 is too big, then everything between 3.75 and 3.8 would be too big, and everything between 3.75 and 3.7 rounds down to 3.7. So x equals 3.7 to 1 decimal place. So this bit is important. In order to get the full marks, you have to first of all get it between two consecutive 1 decimal place numbers. One of those is going to be your answer. You then have to go halfway to decide which one. Marks for that, you're going to get 1 mark for any answer, any evaluation between 3 and 4. You're going to get another mark if you have 2 more correct answers greater than 3.5. And then 1 mark for getting it consecutive and 1 mark for testing it. So that's an easy thing to practice and revise, especially with the calculators as clever as they are now. Question 14, right angle triangle. So it's either going to be trig or Pythag. We're going to hit the Pythag question probably before a trig, so I'm already thinking Pythag. And they want to find a length given 2 lengths, so it's Pythag. I'm going to write that down now so I'm clear what I'm going to be doing. I know with Pythag I need to square my sides, so I'll do that straight away now. So 6.5 squared is 42.25, and 16.9 squared is 285.61. I want to find MN, which is one of the shorter sides. So the only decisions you have to make now are either you're going to add those squares or subtract them. If you want to find a shorter side, you're going to take those away. But that will give us the square, because we're working with squares. So MN squared is going to be 285.61, take away 42.25. Which is 243.36. Which is what we'd expect. We're looking for a number which is between those two. Then, to find out what the actual length is, I'm going to do the opposite of squaring, which is square rooting. So hit square root of your answer, and it does the previous answer, and you get 15.6 centimeters. And again, you can see that looks sensible. This is the hypotenuse, so it's going to be smaller than that because that's the longest side, and it looks like we're going to get a larger answer than that there. So I'm quite confident that I've got that one right. So I've got 1 mark for the squares and the subtraction, 1 mark for getting it down to 243.36, 1 mark for the final answer. Question 16. Construct an accurate drawing of triangle ABC, where ABC is 7, sorry, AB is 7, angle ABC is 90, and BAC is 60. Use only a ruler and a pair of compasses. The side AB has been drawn for you. You must show your construction arcs. So construct is important here. It means that you can't measure it using a protractor. The angles have to be constructed. So AB is 7, ABC is 90. So if we do a little sketch just to make sure we know what we're looking for, ABC is 90. So C is going to be up there somewhere because the middle letter tells you where the angle is. BAC is 60. So we need to construct a 60-degree angle from there and a 90-degree angle from there. So if we draw the 60 first of all, 60, so to get the angle from A, I want to put my compass point on A. To draw a 60-degree angle, you open your compass out, it doesn't matter how far, as long as you fix it from that point, and draw an arc. That is a construction arc. Then without changing the size of the compass, you move the point to where the arc has crossed the line and draw another arc to intersect the first. That is going to give you a 60-degree line. Angle, sorry. So that is 60 degrees. Now in order to construct the 90, there's different ways of doing it, and the quickest way, which never occurred to me until very recently, is that you can bisect a straight line. Half of 180 degrees is 90. So I've extended that straight line from B, and what I'm now going to do is draw so I've extended the line, I've crossed each side, I've then opened up my compass, and probably better if I'd have opened it up a bit wider, but it doesn't matter, you can see where those two cross is going to give you your 90 degree. And where they cross is where C is. So if I just go back to that, once I'd marked those off, it would have been probably better if I'd have opened that up a little bit further so that those cross more accurately. So the 90 degree, you're bisecting a straight line. 60 degree, you've got that double arc to do. So for that, there are 2 marks for constructing the 90. And there's 1 mark for constructing the 60. Question 16. Right, well, we've done our Pythag, so this is likely to be trig, and I've got angles, sides and right angles. So yes, this is my trig. So if it's trig, I'm going to write down straight away my little triangles, so that I can decide which I need to use. Calculate the length of the side QR in the triangle shown below. So that's going to be my opposite. This is my hypotenuse, which means this is my adjacent. So in order to decide which one to use, I need to find the opposite, so O is in there, and I'm going to have to use the 18, so add. So I'm looking for the one that's got opposite and adjacent, which is tan. So this is the one that I'm actually going to use. And I want to find the opposite, so the opposite is going to be tan times the adjacent. And tan is always related to the angle. So the opposite, RQ, is going to be tan of 24 times 18. So tan 24, make sure you close the bracket, times 18 equals, and we will give our answer as 8 centimeters or 8.01 centimeters. Usually if it's given to no decimal places, it's fine to give your answer to no decimal places. So for that there is 1 mark for recognizing that it's tan that we're working with, and if you just wrote that down you get straight 2 marks and then 1 mark for your answer. Question 17, probability trees. 100 boxes each contain 10 balls. 45 of the boxes are labelled A. They each contain 7 black and 3 white. 25 of the boxes are labelled B. They each contain 4 black and 6 white. And the rest of them are labelled C, and they each contain 8 black and 2 white. In a game, a player chooses a box at random and then chooses a ball at random from that box. Complete the tree diagram shown below. So this is the first choice, which is the choice of box, which is either A, B or C, which means that these 3 have to add up to 1 because those are the total possible choices. So if we do 1 less 0.45 less 0.25, that will give us 3/10, which is 0.3. Then we come to what happens next, which is it's either going to be black or white. These are 0.7, 0.3, 0.4, 0.6 because in box A it's 7 out of 10 for black, 7 out of 10 is 0.7, it's 3 out of 10 for white, 3 out of 10 is 0.3, and so on. So what is the probability that the player will select a black ball? Well, there are 3 different ways that the player can select a black ball. Box A and black, box B and black, or box C and black. So where we're using the word and, we're multiplying the probabilities, and when we're using the word or, we're adding. So if we're saying A and black, we're saying 0.45 times 0.7. If we're then saying or B and black, 0.25 and 0.4, and means times, or 0.3 and 0.8. So when you're moving in the same direction, you're multiplying the probability. So branch to branch, you're multiplying. If you've then got to go back to the start to consider another path, then that's when you're ORing and you're going to add those probabilities together. So we can put that into our calculator in one swoop. Open bracket, 0.45 times 0.7 or 0.25 times 0.4 or 0.3 times 0.8, close bracket, equals 131 out of 200, which is 0.655. There's a part C to this question. If a large number of people played the game, approximately what fraction of them would you expect to choose a white ball? Well, it's either going to be black or white. So that was already in fraction form there, which was 131 out of 200. So if white is that, black is going to be one less. So that's going to be 1 minus answer, which is 69 out of 200. Or 0.345. So you're looking to see which one of these is closest to 0.345. 10th is 0.1, 5th is 0.2, 0.25, a third 0.33333, a half 0.5. So the closest is 1/3. So the marks for that, 1 mark for the 0.3, 1 mark for any one of those multiplying, 1 mark for the method of adding them, 1 mark for the answer, and 1 mark for the value of the third. Question 18, factorising. First one is a common factor. So you're looking for what the most you can take out of each part of it. Well, I can only take an x out. If I take an x out of that, it leaves me x squared. If I take an x out of that, it leaves me take 5. Check by multiplying back out. X times x squared is x cubed. X times minus 5 is minus 5x. Expanding this, you have to multiply each term in this bracket with each term in the other bracket. So the 2x times x is 2x squared. 2x times plus 4. 2x times 4 is 8x. Plus times a plus is a plus. Then we multiply these two, minus 3x, and then these two, 12. Signs are different, answer's negative. That's the expanding. And then the simplifying, we can simplify the two x terms. Plus 8, take 3, takes us to 5, minus 12. And then the final one basically goes from that form into the double brackets. So you need to remember the method for this. What you do is list your factor pairs of 28. So I got 1 and 28, I got 2 and 14, I got 4 and 7. and I'm looking for the factor pair which will somehow combine to produce a 3 for me. Well, there's nothing I can do with any pluses or minuses with those to make 3. I'm either going to get 29 if they're both positive. I'd get 27 if that was negative and that was positive. I'd get minus 27 if the other way around, or minus 29 if they were both negative. The only one I can feasibly get a 3 out of is 4 and 7. So my brackets are going to contain 4 and 7, and now I just have to get the signs right. One of them is going to be positive, one of them is going to be negative in order to end up multiplying to give a negative, and I want a negative 3, so I need the 7 to be most negative. Plus 4 take 7 is negative 3. So that's a nice little method. If you haven't learnt that, that's quite a quick and easy way to gain a couple of marks on an intermediate paper. Marks for that one then, question 18. 1 mark for that one. For the second one, 1 mark if you didn't simplify, 2 marks if you did. For this one, 1 mark if you just got 4 and 7 and got the signs wrong, 2 marks if you got the signs correct as well. Question 19 is straight line graphs again. As I said on paper 1, if you haven't learnt these or you haven't practiced them, I wouldn't bother looking at this until you have done so. So for lines to be parallel, they have the same gradient. So if they have the same gradient, you want them in the form y equals mx plus c. This is your gradient. So to get them in that form, you need to divide that one by 3. So it's dividing every part of it by 3. This one, you're going to divide by 3. This one by negative 3. And this one by 2. So here, this would be I'd have to divide by 3. So I'm looking for the one which has got the fraction 2 over 3, which is the first one. 2 over 3, that one hasn't, that one has but it's negative. That one has, but it's negative. That one hasn't. So the one that I'm looking for is 3y equals 2x plus 7. If you're looking for the equation with perpendicular, if lines are perpendicular, the gradient of one is minus 1 over the gradient of the other. So for this one, I'm looking for a gradient which is minus 1 over 5 for perpendicular. And again, if you haven't learned that, if you haven't practiced it, that won't make any sense. So I'm looking for the line with minus a fifth, and I can see it's this one here. So 1 mark for each of those. As I said in the paper 1 video, equations of lines, if you haven't practiced them, they look a bit confusing, but if you have, there's not a great deal to learn in order to be able to answer those questions. Question 20, a circle theorem question. You can see there we've got that arrowhead. You need to know that the angle here is double the angle there. So if that's 37, that is 74. But you need to read the question, because the question is saying calculate the size of the reflex angle AOB. Well, you need to know that a reflex angle is greater than 180, which means that's not the angle we want. The angle we're actually looking for is that one, which is going to be 360 less 74. Which is 286. Marks for that is 1 mark for the method. So you get 1 mark if they solve 74, 2 marks if you get 286. So been a bit cheeky there really, but then we're nearly at the end of the paper. It would have been a very easy question otherwise. And the final question. The area of triangle ABD, shown in the diagram below, is 35. ABD. AD is 5 and BC is 32. BD is perpendicular to AC, so that's why we've got that little right angle there. Calculate the size of angle X. Well, it's trig. It's the only way I know how to calculate angles. But in order to use it, I need another side in that triangle. And the side that I got a hope of getting is this side here, BD, because it's also part of triangle ABD, where I know the area. So the area is half base times height. So in this triangle, half times AD times BD is 35. So that's in ABD. So a half times 5 times BD is 35. So if I take the 2 up, or what should we do? Well, let's do a half of 5 is 2.5. So BD is going to be, I got to divide by 2.5. So now I know that that is 14. So I label my sides: opposite, hypotenuse, adjacent. Rattle off my SOHCAHTOAs. I need to find the one that's got adj and hyphen, which is cos. So cos of the angle is A over H. So cos of X is adj over hyp, which is 14 over 32. So to get the X on its own, I've got to do the opposite of cosine, which is inverse cosine. And that I can write in my calculator exactly as I see it. So it isn't cos, it's the one above it with the inverse cos. Cos minus 1, exactly as it says there. Fraction button, 14 over 32. Close brackets. So you can see it's It's exactly as I've written it, 64.1 degrees. Or 64 degrees would be fine as well. So that's the last question on the paper, so you'd expect it to be a bit involved because you're overlapping now with the higher tier. There's 2 marks for getting the 14. There's 1 mark for cos x is 14 over 32. 1 mark for the inverse cos. And 1 mark for the final answer. So that is the complete calculator paper 2 intermediate tier from the summer of 2017.